Shouldn't the mind and the body be treated as equal? In my story, The Celebration, I, Aparna Singh, try to explore this very idea through the eyes of my adolescent protagonist. It focuses on a ritual popular in the southern parts of India. Coming back from school, I carelessly left my clothes on the bed, completely ignoring my mother's reprimands. I could hear her voice coming from the kitchen, reciting the usual list of things I was supposed to finish before stepping out of the house. Rani had been waiting outside for the last 10 minutes, and there was no time to waste. We had an outing planned. We were supposed to cycle around the neighborhood. I was to give her cycling lessons, and there was no way this could be postponed. A slight uneasiness beset me. The urgency to visit the toilet irritated me like never before. As I was about to flush, a blood-filled pan petulantly gazed back. "This cannot be my blood." The veins in my head throbbed wildly, so much so that I could feel their erratic thump. My grandpa and his atrocious habit of spitting pan in the toilet pan. "I would complain to Amma this time," I murmured. Catching a sudden glimpse of my underwear, all my doubts vanished. "Oh my God!" I screamed. "Am I going to die?" I was only 13, and this was certainly not an age to die. I felt dizzy. The sight of blood was the last encumbrance I had expected. Rushing out, almost stumbling on the toys belonging to my youngest brother strewn all over the floor, I went straight to Ma. It was not difficult to trace her at this hour of the day. She was in the kitchen and looked formidably busy. Without wasting a single minute, I breathlessly rattled away my ordeal. Her expressions shifted from surprise to a knowing look. Was there a smile bordering the corner of her lips? How unruffled she looked, how relaxed. I wondered in disbelief. All this made me angry and impatient for answers. "Ma, here I am about to bleed to death, and you find it funny?" I cried, visibly anguished. The next 7 days were troubling and demanding. I was to stay home and meticulously observe a long list of rules during my isolation. It was part of an upcoming ceremony to be held in my honor, they said. In an hour, the world around me was abuzz with activities. All our female relatives had suddenly swarmed in, many of whom I was seeing for the first time. Their unctuous enthusiasm seemed incorrigibly misplaced. They moved about with the seriousness of duty-bound soldiers who would be held accountable for the slightest deferment of responsibility. I wanted them to decipher my stilted and careful smiles. I prayed for other important events to crop up, to throw them off the scent. But they unfailingly reminded me how supremely important this was. They would come individually or in groups to lecture me on the do's and don'ts. Initially, the newness of it stoked my curiosity. I was amused and annoyed by turns. The seclusion, though, forced me to shelve my plans with Rani. I knew Rani didn't have to go through any of this. She would have told me if she had. With every hour stretching to eternity, I desperately wished for a secret underground tunnel. my savior key to freedom. Thanks to the Harry Potters I had been savoring. The manner in which my movements and my activities were being so closely monitored increasingly bothered me. My great-grandmother, a woman in her early 90s, ebulliently patted my back. Cupping my face in her veiny, flaccid palms, she whispered in her prophetic, raspy voice, "Dear, now you are a grown-up, a woman." Her rheumy eyes pulled off a glint at that moment. I nodded reluctantly, trying my best to not reveal my distress. Hiding my bewilderment was not as difficult as I had assumed it to be, since I was feigning confidence. The transition from a girl to a woman was decided by the mere sight of blood. It all seemed so vague and puzzlingly hilarious. I had to meet my friends to discuss the science project that our teacher had asked us to finish by the weekend. How was I supposed to do that now? How would I explain to him, Mr. Tripathi, my teacher, that I was supposed to remain in isolation and that now I was a woman, whatever that might mean? Romila, in her unmistakable, no-nonsense accent, had told me last month she had been married off to a banana tree. It had sounded like a long-lost fable and so very unreal that I had steered clear from pressing her for details. I even considered it a weird figment of her imagination, a bad dream that she refused to let go of. Now, all this ritualistic paraphernalia made me realize that she too had probably mutated into a woman overnight. So, becoming a woman is a thing to celebrate. Then why do we have to stay all locked up? I questioned. Just wait for the menarche to get over, Ma said with a hint of exasperation. My endless trail of questions annoyed her. This girl will drive me crazy. When will she really grow up? She continued in a complaining tone. So, I have not grown up. See, I told you. No point doing all this. Let's not make this an issue, Ma. My eyes must have twinkled with the hope of winning her over. Noting the misguided ecstasy in my voice, my mother instead sat me through a long session about the onset of puberty and how it signaled the transition in my body. My body was now preparing itself for motherhood. Her words, laced with excitement, described the rituals that would take place in a week's time. She also asked for my favorite color and offered to buy me a kanjivaram for that special day when I would be treated like a goddess. The guests would have wonderful gifts for me, and I would get a chance to deck up as a young bride. She explained that every month I would get my menses, which might last between 4 to 5 days. I would have to be careful and avoid moving around. Will I have to stay alone, all by myself, Ma? I asked, more out of shock than disbelief. I made sure the edge of disappointment in my demeanor was loud enough. I couldn't explain to Ma that there was so much going on in my head as well. I wanted her to listen. Why had nobody asked me about my dreams, the plans I nursed to become a scientist? I had even come up with this formula in the chemistry class, and the teacher had found it to be brilliant. But the mind, they said, was not as important as the body.